After much fan demand, Blood Syndicate is back, joining the brand new DC Milestone Universe courtesy of Geoffrey Thorne and ChrisCross. Let's hop into Blood Syndicate Season 1, Issue 1 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as we open up the book, we're somewhere in the Persian Gulf. We're introduced to our narrator, one Rolando Texador. He talks about being deep in the shit, as they say. Serving Uncle Sam and the US government. It was dangerous work. He had his good days and his bad, but mostly he kept coming back because he craved the adrenaline and the excitement that only comes from combat. Rolando, you may remember if you read the original Blood Syndicate stories from the 90s, would eventually go on to take up the bang baby name of Tech-9, and his skill with all manners of weaponry is clearly still a big part of his character here in this reboot. Rolando and his war buddy Hannibal White return home to Dakota after their tour of duty has ended, but it's clear they have very different ideas about what to do next. Rolando wants to hang out with his childhood friend and underworld figure, Carlos Quiñones, while Hannibal, on the other hand, really only wants to be reunited with his family. We discover that Hannibal actually converted to Islam while overseas, and that might very well explain his new lease on life. Again, this was true in the old comics as well. In fact, Hannibal's bang baby name is Wise Son, which itself is a direct reference to the Quran. Now, it's not long before Rolando gets a crash course on how the city, and particularly his old stomping grounds of Paris Island, have changed since he was overseas. Heroes like Rocket and Icon have captured the imaginations of the everyday people and regularly fight crime out in the open. In fact, all the old organized crime groups, the Mexicans, the Italians, the Russians, are all on the run now. The underworld drug market has been dealt a major blow, and all manner of small-time crews and hustlers are looking to make it big and fill the void left behind by all the old power players. Carlos says that someone with Rolando's combat experience could probably do very well for themselves joining up with one of these new outfits to try and carve himself a nice piece of the metaphorical pie. One of these new upstart kingpins in Paris Island turns out to be Leonard Smalls Jr., aka Holocaust. We actually glimpsed him already in the pages of the Static book. There, he was shown to be some sort of bang baby revolutionary, yet here in this book, Holocaust is shown to be a lot more like a traditional gang boss. I must say, I do love his taste in tracksuits. Some of Holocaust's flunkies tell him about a group of other metahumans who have set up shop in a nearby firehouse. Keep that in mind because it will be important later. Back with Carlos and Rolando, the man who would be Tech-9 waxes poetically about the gang life, how the people he killed overseas were ultimately not that different from the people he called friend at home. They all joined up with potentially dangerous people because they were looking to put food on the table, looking for a way out of their surroundings, looking for a better sense of community and safety. And yet, despite this new generation of socially responsible superhumans like Rocket and Static, crime and injustice still exist in places like Paris Island. Maybe they're just too small and too insignificant for super types to take an interest in them, and maybe, if Rolando wants to do something about it, a gang may be the only way to do so. And why yes, you don't need to be a super genius to figure out Carlos and his people are the ones staying at the firehouse that Holocaust was told about, meaning that poor Rolando gets caught in the crossfire of a drive-by shooting. Only here's the thing though, despite not being around for the Big Bang, Rolando already seems to have superpowers like the one Tech-9 had back during the original Blood Syndicate stories. He can essentially create powerful weapons out of thin air. But wait, there's more. Carlos, who in the old Blood Syndicate stories went by the codename Fade, springs into action to try and save his friend and ends up dragging them both down to the sewers, where they no doubt are going to have a long conversation about how they both have powers. And so that was Blood Syndicate number 1, everybody, a fresh start from one of Milestone's coolest and most endearing ideas, that being what if a superhero team was really more like a gang. I like that the new Milestone comics not only have a fresh, unique flavor from the rest of everything that DC has on the comic shelf right now, but they're also unique and different from each other too in some really meaningful ways. Thorne makes sure that Tech-9 speaks very differently from Static and Rocket as to better reflect the sort of life he's lived in the environment in which he's come up in. I also like the creative choice of really zeroing in on the military roots for the Blood Syndicate, something that doesn't get talked about near as much, but if you know your gang history, you know a lot of it is actually steeped in military service. A lot of messed up vets coming home looking to put their skills to use, still craving the danger, the excitement, and the camaraderie that comes with killing for one's country. I also like that for this new 2022 series, the Blood Syndicate themselves are the main focus right out of the gate, unlike in the original 90s stories where there was actually a white lady journalist who served as the POV for the first little bit. Thorne also seems to be having a lot of fun making this a real deal origin story. Again, in the original Blood Syndicate run, we later found out that the group didn't always exist in that form, and as actually more of a fusing of two older gangs into one. And if I had to guess, that's probably where they're going here for this story as well. I think this book is going to do a lot to serve as old Blood Syndicate fans. I think it serves as a great expansion of the new DC Milestone Universe, and if you've never even heard of Blood Syndicate before, but are maybe a fan of old classic gangster movies like Boys in the Hood and Blood In, Blood Out, I think you'll like this too. Overall, I'd give this one a very solid 8.5 out of 10, and I can't wait to see where the rest of the season goes. Hey there everyone, Kate Joel again, and I just want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means a lot to me. And hey, if you enjoyed the book I covered in this issue and want some comics of your own, might I recommend Book Depository? It's my #1 place for shopping for comic book trades. You get a great price, and if you use my link down in the description, you'll actually be helping me out at the same time. You get something, I get something, everybody wins, right? So until next time everyone, I've been Joel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.